Let me see. I'll move.
I liked those shirts. They were really nice.
Oh, you like them? Yeah.
Yeah.
This one I got those.
Who are you and what are you known for?
My name is Tom Verica. I'm an actor, director, and producer. I'm probably most known as an actor for How to Get Away with Murder and for American Dreams, as well as an episode of Seinfeld and numerous other television projects that I've done. As a producer and director, largely known for working with Shonda Rhimes on shows like Bridgerton, Queen Charlotte, Inventing Anna, and Scandal, all shows of which I directed and executive produced for.
Weren't you also on, and this is just something for me, a Disney movie as well?
There was a Disney movie that I did called Princess Protection Program. And I did that with Demi Lovato and, oh my gosh,
Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez, who played my daughter. Yes, I just totally, she's a singer now, famous singer and actress. But yes, I'm known, I do get stopped for that occasionally as well.
I love that movie. 28, so I'm between,
There you go.
between that bracket.
That falls in that bracket, yep. I can usually sort of determine what someone knows me from when they say, what do I know you from? And depending upon who they are, their age and everything, I can usually pretty much guess the project based on that.
I actually didn't know that one until Tony pointed it out to me, that you were in it. I know you from How to Get Away with Murder. My mom watched it religiously. I don't even remember what day it was on, but she loved it. She was like, you know, got her nighttime glass of wine. It's like How to Get Away with Murder. You know what I mean?
It had a following, yes it did.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. And she, oh my gosh. Speaking of How to Get Away with Murder, what was it like playing a dead person?
It's oddly very challenging. You know, I when I did the first episode, that's of course where my character gets killed. The show's creator, Pete Nowak, said I'd be coming back in some flashbacks, but I'd also be playing the dead body because there's a lot of plot things that happen around that moment in time. So you'll see a lot of these characters going through things that happen in the story, but it required me being dead in the middle of them. So it was very challenging to lay there for hours on end as we film these scenes, because it takes a while to film them. You know, when they have those special close-ups, keeping your eyes without blinking, and you know, my eyes would tear up by trying to hold it for that long. There was another time I fell asleep because I was so tired, just laying there the whole time. And it's not as easy as it sounds. I mean, it's as a director now, when I ask actors who have to play dead, you really try to get them to say, can you do 30 seconds of just laying still? And you'd be surprised how many people cannot do that. It's a challenge for some people. We have a thing we do occasionally where if people's eyes flutter or they blink when they try to keep their eyes still and they can't do it. So we, through visual effects, we'll have to paint their eyes out and make them still, and just grab a still frame of their eyes and put that in there to make them. So it's not as easy as it sounds.
I can imagine. I remember my dad pointed out to me in, what was that one movie, the I See Dead People movie?
Oh, Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense, where it was like the girl she was dead, and they put like a dress over top of her and you could see her breathing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like...
And that's tough, and especially
Yeah.
if it's a long take and you have to sort of keep your stomach from, it's very challenging.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I earned my money on that one.
Yeah, you did. So I understand that you grew up in South Philly, right? What was it like?
Well, I was born in Yeadon, Pennsylvania, and I spent a lot of time in South Philly. Really grew up in Havertown, but Philadelphia, you know, Philadelphia's my life. That's everything I did was Philadelphia, born and raised. And you know, it's a particular type of person, as I've discovered when I go around the world, people's perception of Philadelphians, and it holds true. You know, fiercely proud of their really bad sports teams, and, great food, cheesesteaks, and accents, and it was great. I mean, there's no other city I'd rather grow up in, no other city that I'm more proud to be from than Philadelphia. So it was a great upbringing. You know, it gets my share of getting into trouble, but it was good. A large family, large Italian family. My father's the baby of 15 kids, so I have a lot of cousins, and That's truly quintessential Philadelphia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. 1 of 15. God
One of 15.
bless his mother. That's, struggling with 3.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, no, I'm at 15, and I think at some point he told us that the older kids eventually took over, so it relieved her.
Right.
You know, once you have built-in babysitters at every age.
Yeah.
So it, you know, I think it was probably the early years are probably the most challenging, and then once you sort of build a community within your own household, that pretty much takes care of itself.
What's your most memorable thing of Philly, like growing up in it? Going out with friends or any particular spots to eat?
My most memorable thing in Philadelphia is probably the friendships that I had. Those are the things that still hold. You know, I came back this week and it's been, 40 some odd years, and I got together with my buddies. So I think those friendships are kind of lifelong things that you never know. You don't realize these things when you're a kid, but as soon as you get out into the world, it's a thing you always come back to. But yeah, it's Lanark Diner. It's late night down at Gino's Steaks down in South Philly. The food everywhere. There's food always. Centrella's Deli, which was where I had my first job in Havertown, is a place I always go back to because the hoagies there are the best, and I kind of grew up eating those. And family, like I said, just visiting family and revisiting a lot of those old spots. Those are the things that are always, it's what built you. It's the Philadelphia that built you. So,
What's your favorite pizza spot?
Pica's. Pica's is definitely the ultimate pizza. No matter where I go in the world, there's nothing that compares to Pica's pizza. So, that's another one. I always went to Pica's, and Pica's is the best pizza in the world.
As an aspiring director, what are like the top tips that you would pass on to someone who is looking to build a career in that field?
The tips, probably the most important thing I would point out and give advice to, whether you're a director or videographer, whether it's film or whether it's interviews, the most important thing is to really have a strong point of view. What is the purpose of the interview? What are you trying to get from that person? What is the story you're trying to tell? If you know your story and what you set out, and sometimes it veers off and you'll find other things about that, but if you know the story that you want and have an angle on it, everything should kind of go back to that theme. So find whatever that theme is and whatever you're after, and make sure that every question, every decision, every frame, everything you film supports kind of what that theme is, and then just trust your instinct in letting that interview, letting the setting up of shots, trust that your gut will find those creative elements which will highlight and bring those things out.
All right. So you began your journey in front of the camera, and now you're behind the camera. How has that benefited you in your directing career?
It's a tremendous advantage to have started out as an actor, particularly when I'm now directing and producing. And I think most importantly, I know what an actor goes through. I know what they're feeling. I know what their fears are. Those beginnings of either when you first start rehearsing, when you first start working with other actors, I know how to sort of put those fears to rest of what they're going through, or can frame things in terms of what they're thinking, so that it immediately gain the trust of the actor. And then once you have that, then it's a real collaboration, because it is ultimately, you want to make them the most comfortable they are to get the best performance. And if they're tense, if they feel like that they're being judged or they're not getting what they want, they're not going to be any freer or work better. So it's really about getting to that place where there's a real trust in that relationship, that anything that I ask of them, if it's something that they're not feeling, to go down a different road or to explore other things, once you kind of build that trust, they'll be willing to go down that road. And I think that's probably the most important thing, is to build that trust for that collaboration.
So you're in town with your son, Dante. What brought you back to Philly?
What brought me back this particular time to Philadelphia is kind of a lifelong dream that my son and I had since he was little. My son Dante is 16 now, but when he was, 5, 6, 7 years old, he played Little League baseball, and we talked one day of taking a tour of a lot of stadiums. And this particular time afforded us, this particular summer, really gave us the opportunity to finally jump in and take the plunge. And so we mapped out, and he's at the age now before he probably gets too old and he's too cool for this. We kind of talked about what it would be like now. So we are living out this dream, this check on the bucket list of traveling around to a number of baseball stadiums. And we went to a number of places like Cincinnati and Chicago and Boston and New York, and we ended up wanted to end our trip here in Philadelphia because it was where we're from, and visit family, and we're here with family, which is fantastic. And and we haven't been in Philadelphia in the summer for quite some time, so all the elements kind of came together, and it made this trip particularly special to be able to do that and finishing here as well.
Wow. What was your favorite stadium?
I mean, Citizens Bank. I have to say Citizens Bank, right? No, aside from that, I mean, it was really seeing Fenway Park and Wrigley Field, which are two of the oldest stadiums that are still standing in baseball. So those are the real big ones, is to hit those. They were iconic, and it was fantastic to see. Other than that, Pittsburgh was fantastic. I was really blown away and impressed with the stadium in Pittsburgh, which is PNC. Yeah, PNC.
What do you have to say about Real Life Productions?
I love Real Life Productions. I highly recommend them. I think they have a particular knack for attention to detail, for quality, knowing what to get out of a company, how to best present a company and market a company. I also think one of the things that's really remarkable about Tony and Lauren and what they do with their particular projects is putting people at ease. A lot of times you can see when people are doing their first commercial or advertisement, there's a lot of nerves that are involved. And I think what I've witnessed is their ability to really make people feel comfortable, like they can trust them, which they can. It's kind of what I was talking about earlier, about having that sort of trust with someone. And I think their genuine concern and care for the clients that they work with really come through. And I think it's evident in some of the material that I've seen. So I think that's a real asset to the company.